Thank you so much for joining in today. Today, we're going to have a session on a specialization of MBA, which is so important and becoming so hot of late. Because you all know that data science is becoming a bigger and bigger, job creator for the country, and one of the best career prospects for students like yourself. And then MBA in data science has come in, and really it's taken, I would say, the specialization by storm, in the sense that I've not seen anyone who's done MBA in data sciences who's still not placed. And that somehow rings a bell with what is happening in at the BTech level also, where data science students are much in demand. So we thought that we'll actually have an expert who has pioneered, in a sense, this specialization in their own business school, which is Praxis Business School, which is based out of Calcutta. And the idea is to create, help you understand the prospect and the future prospects of MBA in data science and business analytics, and hopefully respond to a few of your questions that might be bothering you in that sense, right? So thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll hand this over to Professor Charanpreet Singh, who is the co-founder of Praxis Business School, which is based out of Calcutta. But more importantly, as I said, this is all about MBA in data science and business analytics and the kind of career prospect it has. Professor Charan, it's over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And wonderful to see all of you here today, and welcome to this session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make give small presentation which is with an effort to tell you simply what is data science, what is business analytics, what's the difference, and why is it becoming such an important part of any manager's arsenal as he or she tries to navigate the business world, right? And after that, we can have a dialogue, and we can also answer your questions. So I'm sharing my screen, and okay. I'll quickly move to. So I'm starting with cricket because I thought that everybody in India, even if you don't like cricket, at least you know a little bit about it. So just to tell you how universal data science is becoming. There are a couple of things that have happened in the recent past. There is a Bangalore firm called Specular, which has started a collaboration with Intel with something called Specular Bat Sense, where they are mounting a sensor at the back of the handle of a bat. Yeah, and what we are trying to do here is get a lot of data from the movement of the bat, and use that data to come back to the batsman and coach the batsman and say that what's going right with you and what's going wrong with you. Now, why did I choose this example? Because even in something that looks so simple as the back of the handle of a bat, if you look at the right side of the screen, we are measuring 6 key areas. And having lived with this domain for a long time, I will not be surprised if the number of areas that we look at keeps increasing with time. So right now, we're looking at time to impact, the back between the backlift of the bat through the impact of the ball, then the bat speed at impact, the maximum bat speed across your entire swing. So the idea being that if your bat speed is the highest at some other point and not when you are hitting the ball, then you're losing a lot of momentum, right? And then your follow through angle, your impact angle, your backlift angle. So when you hear experts say that his bat is coming at an angle, that's why he's not able to hit the ball. So all of this now, the coach will have this data, and data scientists who will work on a model based on this data as part of his or her decision-making, let's say, process or decision-making, landscape. Now, this makes the job of the coach much easier, but also gives much sharper feedback to the batsman. So end of the day, if you look at cricket as a business and batting as a business, the decisions that you make on how are you going to change the way you bat are going to be based on data. So it's the same thing that we are doing in all other areas of business, whether it's manufacturing or energy or health or marketing or retail, right? So similarly, Anil Kumble has started another sports tech company, and I'm not going to get into details, but it does the same thing. And just to take you to some kind of a difference between data science and business analytics, ESPN has something called Superstats, which is historical data about cricketers, matches. There's something called Stats Guru in Cricinfo. Some of you would be aware of it. And using this historical data and creating machine learning algorithms developed by IIT Madras and a company called Gyan Data, you are being able to kind of understand the match better and also try to predict the outcome of the match as the match goes on, right? So this is something which is closer to business analytics. And when you are putting a sensor onto the handle of the bat and trying to create models based on that, it's closer to data science. I'm not saying that these, clearly define the two areas, but just remember these examples as we move forward in today's presentation. Okay. So these are the three things I'm going to talk, four things, and I'm going to just, give you 4 slides on this. What exactly are business analytics and data science? So let me go to the, so I'm just reading this out, but I will explain it to you in simpler words. The field of study that combines domain expertise, programming skills, and knowledge of mathematics and statistics to extract meaningful insights from data. So the whole, reason why we are talking so much about it and why we are, why this has become such a big thing is that we are now generating much more data than we used to. So that is the first thing. The second thing is today we have the compute power, the storage space, and the technology to be able to extract this data, to be able to store this data, and to be able to analyze this data. And this data can come in structured form, which is like your rows and columns, your usual databases. It can come in unstructured form. So we are recording this whole meeting. So my audio itself is data, and it can be analyzed by people who understand text analytics or sentiment analytics or NLP, natural language programming. And if you give them lots and lots of speeches by me, then they will be able to analyze that and kind of create a model. And then the next time when I start talking, they will be able to predict what am I likely to say next, right? Just to give you an example. So this is data science. And then business analytics is the process by which businesses use statistical methods and technologies to analyze historical data, gain new insight to improve decision making. So the emphasis of business analytics is business. The emphasis on data science is data. So that's the first thing. Okay. And so when the business analytics specialist looks at data, the whole idea is, can I use this data to quickly make the right decision at this point in time on a continual basis? A data scientist would say, okay, fine, my financial company is exposed to a lot of risk, right? So can I create a model that can help my company to mitigate risk? So it's like a long-term project. It's deep, it's complex. So a data science team would kind of create that algorithm using all kinds of inputs. I'm not going to go into that. A business analyst will have the capability of understanding how to use that algorithm, when to use it, how to interpret it, and then how to actually make better business decisions so that using that model, the company can actually mitigate risk. Okay, so I don't know if that is really clear to you, but this is, and I'm sure we will talk more about it. So business analytics usually offered by management schools as a specialization. Focus area is on solving business problems, and field of development could be marketing, finance, supply chain, etc., etc. Data science, usually an MS in data science, but today MBAs in data science are becoming popular, and we will discuss why. Focus areas are more technical, coding, machine learning, deep learning, AI, and field of development is, structured, unstructured data, advanced algorithms, driverless cars, and things like that, right? So this is, in a nutshell, the difference between data science and business analytics. The next part is, why should every manager be a data professional? So this is a term that I'm very fond of. I did not coin it, but I wish I had. But my suggestion to you is that every manager today needs to be a data professional. And the reason is, we are generating unprecedented amounts of data, and the way we use this data impacts how we run our lives, our businesses, and our governments. And in a world of increasing digitalization and uncertainty, companies are moving to data-driven decision making, because when things become uncertain, when things become complex, your intuition, your experience, your prior knowledge sometimes don't work as well. Sometimes the situation is too complex for you to be able to comprehend the complexity. At that point, the best friend you have is data, and the best skill you have is, can I understand this data? Can I operate it? Can I do a quick analysis and then decide which way to go? Okay, which is why it's important for managers, because a business manager gets paid to make decisions. We don't get paid to work hard. We get paid to make the right decisions. To make good decisions, you need to have the skills to understand and analyze data. So one is, you could do a specialization in business analytics or data science, or you could get into a B school which has embedded analytics into all its functions, like marketing, finance, and everything. End of the day, irrespective of how you do it, if you want to look at a strong and fulfilling career ahead of you in the area of business, I think it is mandatory to be good at data, right? So that's my firm opinion. So my next slide is, what skills do you need for an MBA with data science and BA before and after? So I have divided that into two parts: the hard skills and soft skills, because I think both are equally important. Hard skills are very easy. You need data skills, you need technology skills, and you need to understand the business, because you're not applying these algorithms in vacuum. You're trying to solve a retail supply chain problem, or you're trying to solve let's say a Flipkart's problem of returns, or you're trying to solve a problem that so many people are not being able to cope with my course. So how does an educational institution cope with that? So unless you understand this domain very well, you will not be able to apply the skills that you have acquired in technology and data. So and increasingly, companies are giving a lot of emphasis on business domain knowledge, which is why data science and MBA are also coming together. Now let's look at the softer skills, and I think they are pretty interesting. One is learning skills, because the way things are moving and the speed at which they are moving, you need to become a better learner. And if you are working with areas, leading edge areas like analytics and data science, you need to be agile, you need to adapt, and you need to learn how to learn fast. Second is critical thinking. I mean, we could have a 2-hour session on it, but critical thinking is basically having a good reason to believe what you believe. Because remember, you have a very big responsibility as a data scientist. You are going to consult your organization and ask them what to do. So you need to ensure that what you think is right is actually right. It's not based on some WhatsApp message, right? Just to give you an example. Problem solving skills, problem solving, you need to be excited about solving problems, approaching the problem, defining the problem. And that is not data science. That comes before your analytics and data science. So common sense, ability to approach a problem, ability to define a problem are absolutely mandatory skills for you to become a good manager with data science and analytics. Communication, because you need to be able to understand the business problem by communicating with the business, and you need to be able to explain the solution to the business, again using your communication skills. So you work with a lot of stakeholders, and it's mandatory again for you to be able to interact with them. And then collaboration skills, because you'll probably have an anthropologist in your team, you'll probably have a psychologist, a linguist. When you're doing NLP, you will have all kinds of people, not only the regular business people. So you need to be inclusive, you need to be welcome diversity, different opinions, different ways of looking at the problem, and collaborating with everyone to create your solutions and to communicate them. And finally, I think more than anyone else in the organization today, because you're the custodian of what data you extract, what you do with it, and how you interpret it. I mean, I think you have the huge responsibility of being ethical about the whole thing, and let data tell you what is to be done, and not your own opinion or your own biases. So this is, in a nutshell, an MBA with data science or business analytics. This is, in a nutshell, what you need to be. It sounds challenging, but it also sounds exciting, right? And Why will you have an edge? Because there is a huge demand for, I think, as when we started this whole talk, we heard that there's a huge demand for business analytics and data science professionals. And combining this skill with understanding of business is becoming extremely important today. And so what happens when you can do things that others cannot, when you can do things which are important for the company, you get more money, you get growth, you get respect. Even the top people would look at you as somebody who can advise them in what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. Okay. And finally, I have heard this from most of the alumni that we are in touch with from Praxis, that apart from everything else, the job that they do is very exciting, because these are real world problems. If you solve them, they have an impact. Each problem is new. Each variable, kind of creates another story. So you are constantly learning, you're constantly challenged, and you're constantly looking for solutions that can be actually executed, right? And what you do is vitally important to the health of the business. Today, if you look at Ola and Uber, in addition to the quality of the cars and the quality of the drivers, they compete more on the analytics engines that are running behind them. Who gets the better pricing done? Who has the cars in the right place at the right time? So it's actually it's an analytics and data science competition rather than a car and a driver competition, right? So immensely exciting and challenging field, if you ask me, right? Okay. And as I said, every aspect of business will be data dependent and data driven. And this is my last word on this. Proficiency in data will not just be a huge advantage. I think moving forward, you're probably taking a risk if you are not becoming good with data. It's going to become mandatory. I mean, people are going to be differentiated on this basis, right? So just to give you, an idea of recruitment, why I'm talking about it is because, there is a concept of a horizontal and a vertical. Data science and analytics are horizontals. They can be applied to every field. So it's a transferable skill. So you can work in finance, you can work in marketing, retail, health, and look at the kind of companies that come and recruit for it. You have the big four, you have analytics consultants, you have market research companies, you have banks, consulting companies, Aditya Birla Group, I mean, all kinds of recruiters, right? And the other thing which is interesting, I mean, if you look at, this is our latest B school with analytics. So our average compensation in analytics is about 35% more than our overall average, which includes the other functions of business. Okay, so typically you can see that edge in your first salary, in the kind of profile you get. You will see that edge even more 5 years down the line. That's my promise. Okay, so this is what I had to share very quickly. I would love to listen to a deeper questions on this. Yeah, so I will stop sharing now. And
thank you, Professor Charan. So, a few questions that I actually have, which I was trying to, when you were making the presentation. Is maths a necessary subject for a student to succeed in MBA in data science and business analytics?
Yeah, so let me make a difference between data science and business analytics at this stage already. If you want to do an MBA in data science, I'm talking I'm talking from two aspects: the way we run it at Praxis, as well as what other B schools that we know across the globe do it. You would need to be strong in math. Because as a data science person, you get into the algorithms and you get into the math behind the algorithms. So you would need to know linear algebra, differential calculus when you get into deep learning. But if you are getting into business analytics, I would say you have to be data fluent. I would not say you have to be a mathematician, but you should be able to look at an Excel sheet and quickly understand what's happening. So you have to be data savvy. And obviously you have to be good with numbers, but I would not say that you need to be a mathematician. It always helps if you like numbers and you don't run away from them.
Okay, so I'll twist the question a bit just to dig deeper.
Yes.
I'm not a math student. I did commerce, I did BCom, and then I did CA and all. But I'm very good at analyzing balance sheets and profit and loss accounts and those kind of
Yes.
things. You
Yes.
give me a set of numbers, I'll make a story out of that. Is it a
Correct.
good enough, thing for me to choose? Do you think I can succeed in when I do MBA in either data sciences or business analytics?
I would say that you have an excellent career ahead in MBA and business analytics.
Fantastic.
Okay. Now, if you also like coding and if you also like technology, then you are getting more and more towards data science. Okay. But a typical BCom person who did not have the science math in 11, 12, is good at commerce, understands balance sheets, profit and loss statements, cash flow statements, is good at numbers. I think MBA in analytics is wonderful. Will give you a clear edge in the financial world or any other world that you choose.
So is it a fair thing to say that a student who's done BTech should ideally look for MBA in data sciences, and a student who's not done BTech, or he's coming from the commerce or other backgrounds, should be looking at business analytics?
Yeah, I would not generalize totally like that, but what I would say is that if you have done a BTech and you like technology, so let me tell you, a lot of us, including me, we do engineering because that's what we're supposed to do if you're a good student and you're in science. But after I finished my engineering work for 2-3 years, I rushed and did an MBA. So today, if I were a student, although I've done a BTech from an IIT, I would probably have picked business analytics because temperamentally, I'm more a business person than a tech person.
Yeah.
So I would like to use, and I love data. So I would like to use my understanding of data and math and statistics, and I would like to solve business problems on a daily basis, become the bridge between the data science team and the users and all kinds of things. However, if a BTech is a real BTech, likes technology, likes coding, wants to get into algorithm creation, wants to get into the math behind the algorithm, that person will have the training. He or she already has the training to get into smoothly into data science. Yeah.
The other thing is, Prof, in your presentation, you also talked of business domain knowledge.
Yes.
Which also, assumes a certain experience. So are we saying that both these MBAs are more relevant for people who have a work ex?
Okay, that's a good question. So what I would say is that I would say a yes or a no, and a no. It depends on the company and what the recruiter is looking for. Which is why I said, the MBA with business analytics and MBA with data science is becoming increasingly popular because in the first year you are getting the entire, entire gamut of courses in finance, marketing, HR, and all of that. So, like any fresh graduates who does an MBA and goes into another company without any experience, the same will happen with a business analytics and a data science graduate, MBA with analytics and data science. Uh, uh, what that person would do is would already know the functional, parts of the business in some detail, would have worked on some projects, and the rest would pick up on the job. It needs to have an idea. So some recruiters actually look for people with business experience because they're looking for a supply chain analytics person. So they would look for a person with supply chain experience. Some people are looking for management trainees, but they want their management trainings to be data savvy. So,
and are we also clear that MBA in data sciences and MBA in business analytics are two separate specializations?
I would say so. Yes, I would say so. In fact, most business schools would offer business analytics. Yeah, we offer data science because we started with data science, so we offer that, and our recruiters know that. But usually, MBA and business analytics go together. But if you have an MBA with data science, previously it was always an MS with data science. Today, an MBA with data science also has its takers.
Dipanwita, can you ask, unmute students so that they can also start asking questions? Let's start with Bharat Bhushan, please. Bharat, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sir, I have unmuted. Can I please?
Yeah, please ask a question.
Yeah, sir. Good evening. It was a wonderful interaction and a nice information. I have a very specific question with reference to internship for business analytics MBA students. We are a business school, Vishwa Vishwani Institute of Systems and Management, Hyderabad, and we offer PGDM in business analytics. But somehow we are finding it very hard to place those students for some 4 weeks to 8 weeks of internship in that domain. So, like, how do you think we can get into this, and what kind of internship would be useful for them? Thank you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Bharat, because uh, even we struggle with that, because a business analytics engagement has to be longer than that to make any sense, right? Okay, which is why and companies would have to share data, and sometimes that data is quite precious for them, and they may not want to share it with somebody who may not be with them permanently. So what happens, most internships in B schools are market research kind of internships. You have to do surveys, you have to get data, primary or secondary, from sources like primary and secondary, and then you have to work on that, and you have to make presentations. So as long as the business analytics students get assignments like that, it need not have to be quote unquote business analytics, but if it involves working with data, and getting some insights out of it, doing some analysis, even if it's on Excel, and presenting that with certain, as internships do, recommendations and all of that, that is good enough, and recruiters understand that.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sudarshan and I'm from Hyderabad.
Yeah, hi Sudarshan.
Sir, so I've just completed my BCom. I've done BCom General and I'm a CS student, and I'm planning to do Masters or MBA. Now, which is the best option? Like business analytics or MS in business analytics or MBA in business analytics? I just want to know the difference between these both.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So an MS in business analytics would be much more technical, right? So it will be much more hands-on. It will be much more of modeling, and much more of, let's say, getting into time series modeling, and forecasting models and all of that. And it will be more about doing that. And an MBA in business analytics would cover that, but it would also cover how do you really apply that to solve business problems in different business situations across different companies, different sectors, and different functions. So now it depends totally on you. These are questions that I'm always a little hesitant to give a prescription, because I don't know you enough. Depending on what kind of a job you want and what kind of a person you are, if I have to go by just your background, I think an MBA in business analytics makes more sense to you. But if you want to get into the nitty-gritties of getting your hands dirty into actual modeling and all of that, then MS in business analytics would be the thing. So a person who does MS in business analytics sometimes goes ahead and does a PhD, wants to be an expert in that field, right? And is hired either teaches or is hired for very, very specialized kind of roles. So that's the difference.
Yeah. So my recommendation also as a counselor is that you must go for MBA in data sciences. MS is slightly more academic. One of the things that happens in MBA is you also start getting into a capstone project, which means that 4 or 6 of you get together along with the prof and start working with an organization. So earlier professor has talked of how it might be difficult to place for a 4-week, 6-week program for MBA in an internship project. But what does happen, and I would request profs to talk about that also, is that some of these institutions get capstone project where a professor along with 6 or 8 students start working on the project in total. And that really works because that is hands-on experience, and that is dirtying your hands to ensure that you learn better. Prof, can you just talk of the capstone projects that some of your kind of institutions have?
Yeah, true.
So sir, I have another doubt. Like, if I want to do MBA, the institutions are asking for the work experience of at least 2 to 3 years. So
not everyone, Sud, not everyone, but let him respond to the capstone project, and he might also respond to this one also. Sud.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that. Yeah. So let me respond to the capstone project thing. Good, thanks for pointing it out. So yeah, so the capstone project is something that happens towards the end of the program when you have learned all the tools, techniques, and technologies, so to speak, and then people get into groups and they either find their own problem, or they are given a problem with data sets. Sometimes companies give problems, sometimes you find problems that are publicly available, and then you work on that problem as a group with a faculty guide, and then you create a solution for the problem, which could actually, even in some cases, you could even create an app that people can use. And that experience, basically what a capstone project does is it enables you and also in some way forces you to use all that you have learned to in an actual real world problem situation. Yeah. So you get to understand, how do I understand a problem, what data do I need, because there's lots of data around, what's the one which is relevant for me. And I have so many techniques, which technique will work in this case. Sometimes I use 2 to 3 techniques and see which one is giving me the best results. And then how do I communicate and visualize the problem? So that is something that in an MBA also you will do. And maybe if you, if you do an MBA, I mean, you'll do both in MBA business analytics as well as in MBA data science.
And how about the other question that Professor that he asked?
Yeah. So I think what you are talking about is MBA abroad, right? So if you go for an MBA abroad, they will usually ask for work experience. However, in India it may not be the case. Plus, you have the option of a PGDM. So if you I don't think you should use this as your decision point, that because they want experience, let me go and do an MS. Because you have to finally pick the course that is going to make sense to you, depending on what you want to do in life as a career. So I think that's the more important thing, rather than at this point in time, since I don't have job experience, let me do an MS.
So I'll just add to what the professors had said just now, Sud. No country other than India offers MBA without WorkX. Every other country, if you want to pursue an MBA, would demand a work experience. Otherwise, you go for master's programs, and these are MS programs, right? You actually have masters in MSc in management internationally, right? Those are meant for people who don't go through a WorkX route. If you want to MBA, it is applied, right? It's a lot of applications, and for that, it assumes that you have a WorkX, and it's a very clear thing. It's only in India that we don't look at that. So it's a generic, you just need to be clear about the differentiation between what an MBA in India and an MBA outside would be. I'll just stop here because I think more questions are coming in, Prof. So I'll go through that. Professor, there is one question that I wanted to ask you. See, earlier you talked of a possible delta of about 34% in salary for a MBA student who's doing this kind of a specialization, which is data sciences or business analytics, versus possibly the other mainstream things, which is marketing, HR, finance, and all. So can you slightly elaborate on that? Because it's very clearly shows a far better remuneration package for a student who's doing these 2 specializations.
Yeah, so I would give a caveat here. See, it depends on the B school also. So, for example, for an IIM Ahmedabad or an IIM Bangalore or an IIM Calcutta, this may not be true, because they have other kind of offers that they get, which are for investment banking and some kind of very high level consulting and all of that. But let's say for a tier 2 kind of a B school, which is not in the top 10 or not top 20. I think there is a definite difference between people who have these skills compared to people who don't. I think the reason for that is that these skills are in demand today. So it's a pure demand supply situation, right? And because of that, and also what happens is that the data science business analytics salaries already are high. So when you're comparing, so if you want to hire a person, then already the expectation is that I would be hired at salaries that you're giving to others. So so the market is hot, the skills are in demand, and they make they make a lot of difference to the health of the company. If you have a good analytics and data science team, you actually use that to compete. So I think these are the things that kind of converge, which is why there is a likelihood that you will get a better salary, better profile, and not just the salary today. The growth is also faster because of if you need people to join you today, you also need people who have 5-6 years of experience 4 years from now. So this kind of so our alumni who joined in 2014, 2015, the kind of growth they have had in the last 7 years is unprecedented, and no other people from any other domain can match that growth. I think it's still going to last for the next 10 years or so at least. So that's the situation. I mean,
so I'll
I don't
come
know
back to
if
this career path very soon,
Yes.
Prof.
Yeah.
I'll just come back to it because it's a very important indicator that you're giving. So I'll come back to that same thing, Prof.
Yeah.
In terms of a career path, can you tell me a student who does MBA in data sciences or business analytics today, where would they be, say, 7 years hence or 5 to 7 years hence? What is the career path? They join as management trainee, then they, where do you see them moving forward?
Right. So yeah, so they join as management trainees. They also join as business analysts. They also join as junior data scientists or data scientists. So one is that this is a nascent field, so the designations are not yet standardized, and different companies have different designations. But I mean, I think more or less their profiles are similar. I mean, they are at the lower end of the management level of data science and business analytics, to describe it in that manner. So what they do is they help out in projects. They do data extraction, data cleaning, working with data. They would be I think accompanying their managers to clients to understand business and these kind of things. And in 5 to 7 years, there are 2 or 3 things that can happen. One is you can stick with the same company and you can keep moving up, and you could be leading projects, and you could be running teams doing that same thing. Or you could be you could have switched and gone to a slightly higher level in a different organization. Some people have done the smart thing, and they have ensured that in a 7-8 year period, they have become really strong in one domain. Eventually your career will be fashioned by your domain knowledge. So you could become a retail analytics expert, and within a retail, you could become a pricing expert. Now, at the end of 10 years, you got to be an expert. You got to be deep. It's a deep field. Yeah. But that's how they move. So they move either across sectors or across functions, and surely in seniority and the kind of work they do. So they would be, the highest level of work is actually talking to a client, understanding the problem, and forging a solution to it, which really requires strategic thinking and also understanding all tools and techniques, because you need to know what can be done. So that is what you reach over a period of time.
Prof, there's a question that's coming from Manas, and
Yeah.
you also mentioned it somewhere in your conversation about PGDM and MBA. You also mentioned
Yes.
it somewhere.
Yes.
So, I'm just trying to rephrase his question, Manas's question. MBA in data sciences or business analytics, or PGDM in data science or business analytics? What is the difference between the two, and how should a student maneuver in choosing between the two?
I don't really think there's any difference. I mean, from a learning perspective, or from an acceptance perspective from the recruiter, because the recruiter is looking at certain skills and certain so it depends on the institute actually. If the institute is respected, institute has teaches well, and and has good industry connect, you have to pick the institute. I don't think you need to go for whether the paper is an MBA or a PGDM. If you want to eventually do a PhD, then I gather that in some schools they prefer an MBA, and they may not have a PGDM, enrolling for a PhD. So unless you have those kind of aspirations, I think for the corporate world, it makes absolutely no difference. Till about 2 years back, all the IIMs were PGDMs.
Yeah. So just I'll add to what Professor has said, Manas. IIMs were earlier PGDM and now they're giving MBA. I don't think it mattered to you whether they gave a PGDM or MBA. What mattered to you is that you're joining one of the IIMs. And that's what an institution does. An institution ensures that their teaching and their learning outcomes will ensure that you get the best out of them. So from that perspective, you shouldn't be worried. And two, just taking off some what the prof said, most PGDM courses are now acknowledged as master's degrees. So most, I'll say 98, 99% of them, because AICTE has managed it that way. So you wouldn't have a problem of doing your PhD also if you want to, because most PGDMs are acknowledged as master's degrees for the purpose of further studies. But if you're not into further studies, if you're not doing PhD anyway, it doesn't matter anything. 100%. In fact, I would suggest that you should go through the PGDM route, because PGDM gives the institution slightly more autonomy to condition the curriculum and the pedagogy and the learning to the industry needs, which an MBA might at times be restricted, because the MBA, the university determines the curriculum and everything. So like if you go through just 2 years back when IIMs were giving a PGDM, go through the top 50 B schools in the country, about 85% were PGDM institutions. So just putting things in perspective, because MBA is slightly restrictive, PGDM is not restrictive because it's got greater autonomy. So that's how it is.
Absolutely.
Dipanvita, you can shoot questions for what is coming on your chatbot while I'll also. Dipanvita?
Sure, sir. So there's a question from Mayur. He wants to know, sir, artificial intelligence, what is the future in the upcoming days?
Yeah, we could have a class on that, but yeah. So when we look at data science, data science uses several techniques. A couple of techniques that we talk about all the time are machine learning and deep learning. So machine learning and deep learning are basically AI techniques. They are subsets of AI. So AI is basically, as the name suggests, artificial intelligence, which is basically, training a machine to think like more and more like human beings. So we've managed a lot. There's still a lot to go. But AI is, when I was doing my BTech, which was in 81 to 85, we had AI, and in computer science, we had AI as a subject. But we could not leverage AI because we did not have the supporting technology. We did not have the compute power, the storage power, and all those things, right? So today we do. So my answer to your question is that in the next 5 to 10 years, your life is going to change in many ways. And most of that, if not all of it, is going to be driven by AI.
So there's one more thing, Prof, that I keep looking at. Like we at Careers, we work with data, a lot of data. And one of the things that we always look at is, can we actually guide the student through data to decide which stream of a UG program they can take, and you can deal with it from BTech in computer sciences to BTech in IT and so on and so forth. We created a data set where tier 1 institutions, what's the placement based on each stream, and tier 2, what's the placement based on each stream and all. Do you think we can actually come up with an index which essentially says that in tier 1, if you do these programs, this is how you'll have chances of placement, and this is the kind of salary you have, because we have the data set? Is that like, does an MBA in data sciences through a capstone project?
Yeah. See, we can do that, because here, as in every such program, we have to be very careful how we label things and how we pick our variables. Because the quality of your analysis and the quality and the validity of your results will be based on using the right data, labeling it in the right manner, using the right technique, and it can be done. Absolutely. And I'm sure people are doing it also.
And the other thing, Prof, is that MBA specifically, one of the soft skills that people do talk of is leadership skills, working in teams and those kind of things, right? Do data science and business analytics as specializations, do you think they're slightly, secluded or precluded from these essential skills?
That's a good question. Actually, I would say no, because one is, of course,
So I'll again rephrase the question, Prof.
Yeah.
Again.
Uh-huh.
Do you think, for people who are slightly introverts or slightly not outgoing and all, do you think MBA in business analytics or data sciences should be a more preferred solution than MBA in marketing or HR or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. So, this is a lot of people feel that, they are happier working on a desk with their laptop rather than going out and meeting people. So if that's your question, then yes, I mean, if you do analytical work and you want to, so what you can have, there are individual contributors and there are people managers. So if you, and large MNCs actually have different career paths for them. So if you are the individual contributor kind of person, then data science is a great path for you. Having said that, people who become, I am expecting data science people to become CEOs in the near future. They will have to combine their ability to make an individual contribution and also manage teams. So it's the same problem as in IT. When people get promoted to managerial positions, sometimes they struggle because they are happiest coding and writing modules and solving problems. But in data science, because constantly you are a consultant, you have to visualize the data, you have to explain what you're doing, you have to like almost tell people what to do. I think that we have had introverts who have eventually become very good consultants because of the confidence they get from their techniques they know, and the and the insights they get. So then it's up to the institute to make sure they get trained to be able to present that also, because I think that will be required as you move up the career path. For getting your first job may not be required.
And Prof, because you also offer MBA in other specializations other than just these two, can you tell us by way of an example of a company which has recruited people from your other specializations as well as these two specializations, and how the career path has been for them?
Yeah, so there are banks who have done that, right? So banks come and take our people for corporate finance, financial operations, risk management and things like that, and they also come and recruit our business analytics and data science folks for their for their data science center or analytics team and all of that. So what happens is that they follow parallel career paths actually, because the analytics and data science students keep their path is getting more slightly higher positions, better projects, more exposure to business as they move forward. And the people who are doing corporate finance and finance operations and all that, they have a totally different path. So and banks take everybody at that same empty or in our case, let's say manager level 2 or 3 or 4 depending on the bank. So they have parity in these two. When you look at consulting companies and all that, I think what is happening is that consulting and ability with data is almost converging. So if you're looking for even an HR consultant, you would want that consultant to understand HR analytics. So consulting, if you are not an analytics person, they're going to teach you that, right? But if I compare it to a career in sales or something, those careers are very different from this, because there you start as a salesperson, then you become an area manager, then you become a regional manager. That's a traditional way you grow.
So, Prof, just to put it in buckets, though I don't want you to categorize or generalize the whole thing, is it fair to say that MBA in data science or business analytics, you're more likely to be a consultant as compared to something which is where you and working in new age companies, as compared to MBA in finance or HR and all, where you might be working in functional roles in even brick and mortar companies?
Yes, I agree with that. So you could be a finance professional and work in the Big Four as a financial consultant. That can happen. But you are also probably more likely to work in a captive firm, right, or in a bank, or even let's say in Tata Steel as a finance person. By the very nature of its domain, if you're working in data science or even business analytics within a bank also, you would become a consultant to your internal team. So the regional office, the branch offices, the salespeople, the field, they would look at you for, suggestions, advice, whom should I pitch this product to, how many calls should I make, and things like that, which are my hot leads, which are my, so all that, so you're by virtue of what you do, you become a natural consultant, whether you're working captive in a company or whether you're working in a consulting company. So that's absolutely true.
Sood, you wanted to ask another question. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, as you spoke about the managerial positions in a company, and what do and at which positions do people who do business analytics get posted in the company? Do they get posted at the managerial positions in the future? What scope do they have in the future?
Yeah, I think so we discussed that. So, you get your first job because you have certain skills and certain qualifications, knowledge and skills, and you demonstrate that in the interview. After that, how you move your career depends a lot on how you perform, right? So I'm telling you, at every level in the organization, there is a dearth of these skills. So if you join at at the first level from an institute, the likelihood that you'll move to the second level faster than people who are in different domains is higher, because even at the second level, third level, people are leaving the company, they're getting better jobs. There's already a shortage. So the shortage of skills is not just at the first level hiring; it's there at all stages. So it's up to you to perform, to demonstrate to the company that you're good enough to take the next level of responsibility. And they want you to, they desperately want you to, because it's easier to get fresher people than to get people with experience. So I think that in terms of the opportunities for growth, both in terms of your salary, your position, and your learning, these are wonderful areas.
Okay, can I become a management trainee after choosing this, after completion of the course?
Very clearly, that's an open and shut case. Yeah, the least that you will become is a management trainee. So just put things in perspective. Prof, just tell me. Obviously, these two are new age specializations, right? They did not exist 5 years back or 10 years back, right?
Yes.
What are the other new age specializations that you see are coming at a master's level at an MBA, for an MBA student?
I have been looking at this. This is interesting because luxury management and all that had come a little earlier, maybe 10 years back.
They're too niche and they're dead also now.
Too niche, and didn't work. Yeah. I'm seeing design thinking management coming up. I'm seeing a lot of good schools doing that. And design thinking is another, it's an area which again can be applied anywhere. So this is one area where I think there is some work happening. The other work is, the whole ESG concept, right? The sustainability, environment, and so actual masters in that. And I'm also now looking at MBAs that specialize in that, because that again is becoming, a function unto itself, because it's become so important for the organization, both from the point of view of its reputation as well as from the point of view of existence and sustainability. So these are a couple of things. And then there is fintech. But fintech, again, basically, distributed finance, right? So cryptocurrency being one part of it. So fintech is another thing which either could be part of the finance that you teach, or it could also become a specialization in MBA. So these 2 or 3 things I'm seeing. Most of it is, most of the rest is the same.
In your class profile, Prof, for both these specializations,
yes,
how many would be engineering graduates who are doing an MBA versus non-engineering graduates?
So in data science, we would have mostly engineering graduates. I would say 90%, and or sometimes BSc in math stats, eco math stat. That is also another, it's very attractive for recruiters as well, because those guys know their stats and math, especially if they come from good colleges, really, really well. So, or even a BSc in computer science. So if you have those kind of backgrounds, then you are, data science. In In the business analytics, it's a pretty generic batch. It kind of reflects the overall diversity of the batch. So we have people from engineering, we have people from sciences, we have people from commerce, BBA, all kinds of backgrounds. But these are people who like numbers, who are problem solvers. They have that aptitude. That's why they go for it.
And the other thing, Prof, is if you have to pick up, say, your marketing or HR function, marketing function, MBA in marketing as specialization, versus these two specializations, do you see any change in the gender diversity ratio?
That is interesting. I think in data science there is a ratio. I think there are more men than women now, and we have a women in tech call. We are desperately trying to attract more women because recruiters also want them. In business analytics, it's pretty similar. Since you mentioned marketing, so when we teach marketing, we have a specialization called consumer insights and market intelligence, because and digital marketing. So we see marketing by itself as a domain moving moving towards analytics in any case, right? So the border between marketing, traditional marketing, and business analytics is actually disappearing. And as we talk, maybe 5 years later, every function will have its own analytics part, and everything will become data driven anyway. So in marketing, I would say, and business analytics, I would say that if there is a difference, at least it's not obvious to me in terms of gender.
And for these two specializations, Prof, what's the kind of internship opportunities that students have?
Right. So for the analytics and data science, one is, of course, that for data science, they have to, at Praxis, they have to write an exam to get into the data science specialization. We give them some coding and math and all that because we don't want them to suffer later. So they don't even know till the second year whether they're going to get in or not. So, but analytics is done earlier. So I think that as I was responding to the other question, that people are not willing to give you an internship in data science for a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. It's not very prevalent in the industry. So you need to get profiles which are basically to do with analysis of data, and a large majority of good profiles in internships are that, it's mostly doing some research, market research, and presenting a report, right? So when you do that, so what happens is, if you are an analytics student, you have already learned data visualization, that you make your report in using data visualization, Tableau and all that, rather than using PPT and impress your recruiters and things like that. But there is no, at least till now, we have not matured to a level where we have a separate internship, kind of a pipeline for these specializations.
My last question, Professor, because it's very important for from the student. They always look at outcomes, right?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that while the internships are lower in these two specializations, the placements are far higher as a percentage as compared to the other specializations? So can you talk of the placement percentages, say at Praxis itself, so that we can actually relate to the story?
Correct. So I will combine the two. Yeah. See, we are not saying there are no internships in this area. I'm saying that you don't need internships specifically in this area. An internship is an internship. Okay. I mean, you get a data-driven internship, you are good. You don't need anything else. When we come to the placements, we have a very high percentage of overall placements, but I can tell you very clearly that the analytics and data science students get placed faster. They get picked up very early. So that is one thing, because there's a higher demand. The second thing is, as I said, that their average salaries are higher, and for our business, especially our business analytics cohort, is increasing every year. More and more people are opting for that. And although we have certain criteria of your scores in your quant and statistics and certain courses in your first year to be able to qualify, it's not very rigid. We want more and more people to embrace it. So that batch itself, that size is growing, because people sense that they've looked at how the seniors got placed, what kind of jobs they got, what kind of work they are doing. And so there's a culture of going for analytics if they can. So yeah, surely in terms of placements, how quickly you get placed, the kind of profiles you get, the kind of companies that come. So there are certain companies that have come to Praxis because we have business analytics. They would not have come to Praxis otherwise. So the others also get the benefit of that.
And typically it's a 100% kind of a placement that you have.
Yeah. It is 100% kind of placement. It is 100% and early. Yeah. Yes.
I think that answers many things. Is there anything which is a closing comment that you would want to tell our students here?
Yeah, my closing comment is that I'm an evangelist for this because I just love data, and I think that today's world, the digital world is running on data. So if you want to be part of the excitement that is going to lie ahead of us in the next 10, 20 years, as I said, our lives are going to change. If you want to be part of that excitement, if you want to fashion that excitement, I think you should become a data professional. So that's my closing remark. I mean, how you do it through an MBA, do it through an MS, depending on who you are, what you want to do in life, but embrace data and embrace at least some tech, because tech is becoming very important as well. So, and you can do it. I mean, you don't have to be a mathematician or a physicist to do it. You just have to, start, dirtying your hands and looking at it positively.
I'll just add to what Professor Charanpreet has said, students. We at Career 360, we have a huge audience. We get about 500 million sessions over the year. We get about 6-7 million students who register with us and all. And we're always trying to look for people who are data professionals who will come and data sciences professionals who will come and join us. It's much more difficult for us to recruit these people as compared to any other people. So as an employer, I'm putting this in perspective, that it is much more difficult for us. We're always on the lookout for data sciences professionals, and we are struggling to find them. Whereas it's slightly more easier for us to recruit certain other specializations. Not that I'm belittling something else. I'm just saying there is a demand supply gap, as Professor has said earlier, which will continue for the next decade, in my opinion, because increasingly most of us are dealing with data. Increasingly most of us are targeting based on data. We are trying to reduce spamming. We are trying to increase the conversions. We are trying to increase footfalls and sales and those kind of things, and that will all happen through data. So my perspective of this as a counselor at this point in time is that if you are given an option of doing a specialization, I would urge you to do, if you're a non-engineering student, do MBA in business analytics. If you're a engineering student, try to do it in data sciences, because it's got a far greater prospect than many other specializations, unless you're interested, of course, in something else, in which case you must pursue your passion and nothing more. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us today.
Thanks. Thank you.
I hope you had a good time, and I hope that students will learn from what you said.
Yeah, I had a great time. I love talking about this. Thanks for inviting me, and all the best to all the students. Have great careers. Mine is kind of towards the end, but you guys have everything ahead of you. So I hope you've learned something, and I hope it helps you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, students. Bye.
Yeah, thanks.